mentioned earlier in your talk that current judges don't want to go on the record, and retired judges still don't want to know. Why is this?
Well, current judges are let me be very clear. Current judges are very careful because they are, we'll just say ethically or legally required not to talk about cases in particular. So if you've ever talked with one attorney about a case and you already have an attorney, that attorney should be like, I'm sorry, I can't engage in ex parte communications, which, by the way, is also ex parte orders are what's used to remove your grandchildren. Ex parte means without a judge, basically, or without an attorney. So, but what I have had is successful consultations in general with judges about what they see as a problem in the system. So they've been open to talking to me about that, but they don't want their names used because, honestly, in that regard, nobody really knows where this is going. You all understand that, right? We really are at an opportune moment in time to change it. So I don't think anybody wants to put their foot down and say, yeah, this is exactly what we're going to do. Judges recognize that DCF has major problems. There's no defending them anymore. There's no defense for DCF. KVC, St. Francis has shown some turnaround. I'll give props to St. Francis. KVC needs help, just moral and ethical help. I'll say that right now. But St. Francis I've been impressed with lately. So retired judges, understand I'm a third generation attorney. I grew up in courtrooms, so I know a lot of judges. So there are many people who are my mentors who are judges, and it benefits all of us if they remain my mentors. I imagine if time passed, they may decide that it's time to speak up, but honestly, because the problem isn't one center, it's not DCF, it's not just police, it's not just judges, no one has really taken a whole view of what the problem is. So all they can say is, Shayla, we understand there's a huge problem. What you need to understand is you've got good moral support and saying what you find and defending these parents and exacting change. Even if I'm wrong, I'm in there, and everybody who knows I'm grouchy in court, and I'm not hiding it. And so but we have to listen now. We can't, like in Wichita, we can't have kids dying every 26 days under the eyes of DCF. That's unacceptable. So let me just say that this is not a secret at all. I would not say that the court system is ignoring the problem. I would say they don't really know how to fix it either. So it's a good time for all of us to work together, especially those of you who have elected judges in your district and you vote. Any other questions? Yes.
We talked about DCF, and it's not big news there, just about.
Yeah.
When's the legislature going to wake up and drain the swamp?
What was the question?
Yeah. Do you want to come talk to? We went through this in February when they proposed their new transparency amendment, and I just lost my stuff, and I submitted what the actual federal complaint. You understand DCF, they handle other social services, welfare benefits, etc. They are basically a data collection agency when it comes to child abuse. We receive funds, I assume, under CAPTA, which is a federal funding or federal law which allows states to develop ways of reporting and collecting data on child abuse and near-death fatalities. And I didn't know much about them until Ms. Keach told me on the phone what it meant. So in the state of Kansas, DCF has taken this proposition. They don't have to give any data to anybody. That's kind of their opinion. They're using it to help themselves, and that's the very premise of CAPTA, is to prevent states from doing that. States like Virginia have massive open documents, and they managed to do it without disclosing victims' names, reporters' names, and they have a huge database in Virginia where law enforcement can go in and say, hey, has this person been arrested for child abuse before? Hey, has this person had a DCF report before? That's the ideal, is what we have in Virginia. In Kansas, we have, like, if a child dies in February, the new secretary said, we're going to be transparent, and you're going to require us to provide a summary. Well, I'll tell you the first summary, and so I told the legislature, this is a ruse. It's smoke and mirrors. They're already required. They can give this information, but they refuse to. So now they want to give yet another layer to this Cora records thing when they don't need to. They could give that up, but the legislature still passed it all through, approved the secretary, and I was like, I'm done. This is why I don't deal with the legislature. I was a lobbyist in law school. I was not impressed at that point, and still not impressed, but I understand. That's why we can exact change better now. You can go in and, like I developed a release to allow anybody under certain circumstances to request records. I will tell you, under the new law that DCF pushed through for their transparency effort, the first decision, the first summary that they produced was in Tony Bunn's case, which wool heaters were here about. That was their grandson. That was the first new summary they produced, and they lied. They said that that they had been investigated and that there was no medical evidence of abuse, or no medical opinion of abuse. And I'm telling you that's a lie. There was a doctor who said there was abuse. So, if you don't hold your legislators accountable for letting this happen, I told them it was going to happen. They're not doing this for your benefit. We don't even, to this day, and they still refuse to produce any records of near fatalities. Blatantly refused. On record in Senate hearing, the new secretary. And I'm like, okay. I tried to tell them, but I'm not dealing with that anymore. You guys are going to have to deal with them. I'm in Colorado. Yeah. Yes?
I have a quick question. In the statute, it says that the state can find ways to provide safe places to visit, family can, but is it sometimes easier, and it's a two-part question, is it sometimes easier to find an attorney to help find those types of programs?
I don't think it's easier to find an attorney because attorneys are expensive, and I don't know why they're more expensive in Kansas than in other places.
And the reason why I asked that first in the two-part program because it's things like that that really count on programs for like homeless people that might need. So thank you for that.
I will tell you this. My family, in Evan's honor, we've founded Evan Safe Haven Foundation. It is a family preservation service intended to address these issues. Carlo calls it the gap, filling the gap. I can tell you that I think one of the reasons why grandparents are not considered in sync cases and DCF is given custody is because only when DCF has legal custody of a child can the contracting providers provide free services. I'm giving them that. Maybe there is some charitable component to why they're doing this, but I don't think that grandparents would prefer to have their children go through that when the grandparents can provide those services. But I think that's part of the problem. Evan Safe Haven, we hope to have a plan in place in the next 4 to 6 months that will alleviate some of that problem and provide that funding service. And I will tell you that we're in talks with Crime Stoppers, somewhat with law enforcement down in the Wichita area to implement the lethality assessment protocol. So we have big plans and hopefully enough time and resources to get it done quickly enough for families, because we see a lot of the problem being lack of representation, lack of access to attorneys, but really just lack of knowledge as to what's out there to help. And so we hope to cure some of that problem without making DCF involved.